أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. I seek refuge in God from Satan the rejected. Brothers and sisters, welcome to another Quran study. We will be reading from chapter 9, verse 39, God willing. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. In the name of God, most gracious, most merciful. Unless you mobilize, he will commit you to painful retribution and substitute other people in your place. You can never hurt him in the least. God is omniscient. This verse is talking about the verse before. I want to read that one too. In 38, God says, all you who believe, when you are told, mobilize in the cause of God, why do you become heavily attached to the ground? Have you chosen this worldly life in place of the hereafter? The materials of this world compared to the hereafter are nil. So God is asking the believers to mobilize in the cause of God. And he says, like, why are you becoming heavily attached to the ground? Saying that, when a lot of people who say that they believe, their belief is being tested by God, right? And then God has his ways, systems to test the people and to show the true identity of people who say that they are believers. And one of those tests is to mobilize in the cause of God. And if someone wants to fight you, that you protect yourself by fighting back, right? Like when you have enemies and they are fighting against you, they want to try to kill you, then of course you need to fight back. You need to protect yourself and your family, right? Like you need to do something. You can't say, okay, I want peace, but then let them kill you. It doesn't work like that. And God says clearly in 39 that unless you mobilize, he will commit you to painful retribution and substitute other people in your place. So it's a heavy thing to do. Basically, you need to prepare, you need to mobilize and then prepare and then, put your trust in God, and follow the commandment of God. And if you don't do that, God says clearly, he will commit you into painful retribution and substitute other people in your place. So it's easy for God to do, right? And when something like that comes, the believers, they should, put their trust in God and then mobilize, just follow the commandment. And this is a way of showing your true identity, that when you say, I believe, that you really prove that, and we're going to read, of course, that the messenger, and there were a lot of people who were like afraid and they didn't want to fight, um, and this test showed that those people were actually non-believers while they said that they were believers. 40. God's invisible soldiers. If you fail to support him, the messenger, God has already supported him. Thus, when the disbelievers chased him and he was one of the two in the cave, he said to his friend, do not worry, God is with us. God then sent down contentment and security upon him and supported him with invisible soldiers. He made the word of the disbelievers lowly. God's word reigns supreme. God is almighty, most wise. And here we can see that the messenger has full trust in God, right? Something happens, like we know that stories are being told about Prophet Muhammad and Abu Bakr. They say that it was Abu Bakr was his friend and they were followed by the enemy, and then they ran into the cave. And in the cave, while they were hiding, the enemy, the people who wanted to kill them, they followed them. They came into the entry of the cave, and they saw that the entry of the cave, there was the spider had his web. It was all covered with spider web, and there was a bird's nest with a bird. So when they come in, this is the story, of course, that has been told. When they came to the entry, they saw this and they said, yeah, well, if they would have gone inside, then all of this was destroyed. Like the spider web was gone and the birds would fly away. But of course, this is something that they use to tell a story like this. But we don't have that information, so we don't believe in the story that they are telling. What we believe in is that God is given here us the information that we need, right? He's telling us that he was uh, with a friend of him. They went into the cave, and then he told his friend, "Don't worry, God is with us," showing an example that, in that case, when they were surrounded by the enemy, the messenger was had totally trust in God. And God says that he sent down contentment and security upon him and supported him with invisible soldiers, right? Like, this is the information that you got from God, and God can do everything, right? Like, he is capable of doing everything. He could make anyone invisible. Like, even when you are in plain sight on a road or somewhere, and your enemies come to you, if God wants, he can make you invisible in their eyes and no one can hurt you. So a believer should have that type of trust in God, right? Like, if God tells us to do something, then we need to do that. We need to put our trust in God, and we need to know that God promises us to protect. And one other important thing is, especially in wartime, when you fight, you as a believer, you can also die, right? Like, or while you are fighting, it's important that you are fighting in the cause of God. And when you're doing that, you can also die. But death is not a punishment for a believer, right? Like, when a believer dies, the soul of the believer goes directly to heaven. So that can't be a punishment. And if you don't die, you stay in this world, then you get victory from God, because God promises that. God promises victory to the believers. And in hard times, it's really um, like, we didn't see those times, right? Like, we didn't had those times when there was war and we needed to fight. So, but those are the moments that you really need to put your trust in God, and then your real, um, your real, how to say this? Like, your true identity will come into sight. Better believers strive in the cause of God. You shall readily mobilize, light or heavy, and strive with your money and your lives in the cause of God. This is better for you if you only knew. It's also a commandment, like, with the money or with your life to mobilize. And God says light or heavy. So, anything that is in your power, anything that you can do, you need to mobilize when God tells you to do so. The sedentary. If there were a quick material gain and a short journey, they would have followed you. But the striving is just too much for them. They will swear by God, if we could, we would have mobilized with you. They thus hurt themselves, and God knows that they are liars. God has pardoned you. Why did you give them permission to stay behind before you could distinguish those who are truthful from the liars? So, like, anyone who has the possibility to gain something very quickly, like, most of the people would do that, right? But in this case, God is asking something from the believers. He's asking something difficult, maybe, and it takes time. You need to mobilize. There's a lot of at stake. You could lose your life, like, you could lose everything that you have. So this became a situation where it's very difficult for the people, and God is testing them to distinguish the true believers, and the liars. And he says, like, if it was a quick material gain and a short journey, they would have followed you. But the striving is just too much for them, and they knew that, right? They thought about the risks, and they have chosen this worldly life, instead of the hereafter. And in 38, God clearly says that, right? He says, the materials of this world compared to the hereafter are nil. The Messenger of the Covenant explains in one of his videos, and he compares this life, this worldly life, with the hereafter. And he explains there that actually, when you look at it with a logical point, it doesn't matter how long you live in this world, and it doesn't even matter how much material gain you have, how much material things you have gained in this world. Like imagine you have 1,000 worlds, and you are the king of those 1,000 worlds, and you have everything that you want in this world. Like, it doesn't matter what, anything that you want in this world, again, compared to the hereafter, is actually it's nothing compared to the hereafter. Because in this worldly life, you're going to die one day. And this is like also a very limited world, where, for example, you need to go to the toilet, you need to sleep, you get tired. Like, there are so many things. That's why you can't really compare it, actually, like with what you have in the hereafter, like infinite joy. And God says there in the verse that no one is going to get bored. You're not going to get bored. And in this world, you can get quickly bored. People get bored a lot. So you can't really compare it with the hereafter, of course. God says in 42, God has pardoned you. Why did you give them permission to stay behind before you could distinguish those who are truthful from the liars? Those who truly believe in God in the last day do not ask your permission to evade the opportunity to strive with their money and their lives. God is fully aware of the righteous. So this is an explanation of true believers, right? He says they're not going to ask your permission for that. When a commandment of God comes, and they will not, they will immediately do what God asks them to do. In the verse, it says clearly, the believers, they hear and they obey. So when God says mobilize, they just immediately mobilize, because they see this as an opportunity to follow God's commandment. And a true believer should do that, right? Like, because a true believer wants to follow God's commandment. A true believer is not looking for excuses not to follow the commandments. Instead of that, a true believer looks for excuses to, to remember God, to do the commandments of God. The message also speaks about this, right? He says clearly, like, that we really need to find excuses to remember God. When you go outside, you look at the sky, like it's an excuse to remember God, how beautiful the sky is, and God has created that. Or, when you look at the grass or a tree, or to your children, it doesn't matter. Like, believers are people who really seek to, follow these commandments and to remember God. 45. The only people who wish to be excused are those who do not really believe in God in the last day. Their hearts are full of doubt, and their doubt causes them to waver. Yeah, they are searching for excuses, right? They have these excuses not to follow these commandments, not to go to war. And in a case, they said, yeah, our houses are not protected, so we need to go there, and then we need to protect our houses, etc. Had they really wanted to mobilize, they would have prepared for it thoroughly. But God disliked their participation, so he discouraged them. They were told, stay behind with those who are staying behind. And here God explains us, right, that God controls also the heart of the people. God knows exactly what your innermost thoughts are, what your true intentions are. And here God says, had they mobilized with you, they would have created confusion and would have caused disputes and division among you. Some of you were apt to listen to them. God is fully aware of the transgressors. Like, God is fully aware of, like, each of them and what is exactly in their minds. And he says, if God didn't uh, like, if they would have come but with bad intentions, then they would have done these things. And he says, some of you were apt to listen to them. So God actually protected the true believers from those people. When God says put your trust in God, and when we think of the situation where God, because for normal human beings, like, we don't know the thoughts of people, right? We cannot read people's minds. We cannot know truly what is in their hearts. And especially in very difficult situations, for example, like a war, where it's important to, you know, um, to mobilize in a way that you don't be tricked by the enemy, or there are no spies. Like there can happen so many things, right? Because people have in those moments you have these weapons and you can use them. Like anything can happen. And so the believers put their trust in God, and God even protects the believers from others who say that they are believers while they are actually non-believers. So it's really amazing. And God planned everything, right? Those people, they think, yeah, okay, they were protected and they didn't have to go to war or to fight or to mobilize. But actually, God was planning everything all along, and He protected in this way the believers from those people. They sought to spread confusion among you in the past and confounded matters for you. However, the truth ultimately prevails and God's plan is carried out in spite of them. So, God says clearly in the Quran that, people, some groups are planning things, but since they are non-believers, they don't truly believe in God. They don't believe that God is also planning. God is the one who is planning actually, and God's plan always prevails. Like you can never win from God, right? Like you can plan anything that you want, since God is in full control. He's controlling everything. He's controlling the air, right? He's controlling uh, like everything. So how can you even win against God, right? It's impossible to win against Him. So and in this way God protects the believers, and we can see here in these verses, right? Like we are reading these verses, but at the time all these verses were sent to Muhammad. He wrote it down, and he told the people that these verses came, right? He was reading them to the people, and he let them know about the whole situation. So imagine how those people are, at that moment after receiving all this information. Them being judged actually at that moment by God. It's really like I am imagining now that the war is over, the believers go back, and then the messenger, the prophet, the messenger Muhammad received all these verses, and then he's reading them, he's writing them down, and exposing all these disbelievers and hypocrites. Some of them would say, "Give me permission to stay behind. Do not impose such a hardship on me." In fact, they have thus incurred a terrible hardship. Hell is surrounding the disbelievers. If something good happens to you, they hurt. And if an affliction befalls you, they say, "We told you so," as they turn away rejoicing. So like, it's very clear, right, that these people are like hypocrites and liars and unbelievers, because they are happy when something happens to the believers, a bad thing, and then they can easily say, "Yeah, we told you so," yeah. And as they turn away rejoicing, say, "Nothing happens to us except what God has decreed for us. He is our Lord and Master. In God the believers shall trust." The messenger speaks about this part where you have in the dollar, in the American dollars, there's this sentence where it says, "We trust in God," right? Like this is, and that is also why the dollar is one of the most powerful money in the world right now. The messenger talks about this, and here we can see in the Quran where God says that we need to say, "Nothing happens to us except what God has decreed for us. He is our Lord and Master." So you accept exactly what God has decreed. Like we accept the plan of God. If He wants to do something, we just accept it, we submit to it, and we put our trust in God. And God says, "In God the believer shall trust." Say, "You can only expect for us one of two good things: victory or martyrdom, while we expect for you condemnation from God and retribution from Him, or at our hands. Therefore, wait, and we will wait along with you." So, as I said, like for a believer who is striving in the cause of God, you can expect two things: either that person is going to die and will be, go directly to heaven and will be a martyr, or victory. Like there is no other option, because God promises victory for the believers if you fight in the cause of God. God promises that even if if the numbers are lower than the numbers of the enemy. And we read before in the Quran about that, right? That God has his systems where, the enemy, when they are looking at the believers, when they are looking at their numbers, for example, they see that the numbers are like huge. They see the enemy not as big as theirs, or the other way around, where they think that the enemy is small in numbers, so they think they are gonna win eventually, and then they don't fight as hard as you would expect, or to cause confusion, to make sure that God has his invisible um, invisible soldiers, that help the believers. But here we see what the believers need to say, that there are two things that can happen: victory or martyrdom, and both are like the best that can happen. And they say, while we expect for you condemnation from God and retribution from him, or at our hands. So the believers always win, right? Anyways, you win. Even if you die, you are still one of the winners. 53. Say, spend willingly or unwillingly, nothing will be accepted from you, for you are evil people. So because their intentions are not good, it doesn't matter if they spend or not spend, right? Because even if they spend a lot of money, when their intentions are not good, they are doing to boast, or they are doing it not for the cause of God. So it's not. It doesn't matter. You need to. Your intentions need to be good, right? Your intention needs to be really and truly fighting, or anything that you do is in the cause of God. That's the most important thing. The contact prayers existed before Muhammad. 54. What prevented the acceptance of their spending, in that they disbelieved in God and his messenger? And when they observed the contact prayer salat, they observed them lazily, and when they gave to charity, they did so grudgingly. And in the footnote, it says, this is another proof that the contact prayer salat existed before the Quran and were handed down from Abraham. See 2173. Also, it stumps those who challenge God's assertion that the Quran is complete and fully detailed when they ask, where can we find the details of the contact prayers in the Quran? 619, 38, and 114. So this is a very famous one, right? Like most of the people, when you tell them that the only source in religion should be the Quran and Quran alone, nothing else, and that the Quran is fully detailed, perfect, and you can find everything in it, they ask, okay, but God doesn't explain in the Quran how to do the prayer, right? That's what they claim, that God doesn't explain this. But the first thing, as explained in the footnote, is that the 5-time prayer is not something that started with the Quran. It was started by Abraham. God clearly tells Muhammad in the Quran that he needs to follow the religion of his father Abraham, because Abraham is the founder of submission, right? Like the 5-time contact prayers, fasting, the Hajj, all the things that we are doing. Those are all started by Abraham. And so this means that from Abraham until the Quran was revealed, people actually were also praying. And God also says in the Quran, for example, about the Christians and the Jews, that they have lost the contact prayer, right? They have lost it. They can't. They don't know how to do it, or they have no clue on to do it correctly. And here, God says that those people that they were praying before, and God is not accepting it, because when you do certain things, you need to do it as God has commanded, and you need to do it with good intentions. One of the other things here is God says they observed them lazily, And when they gave to charity, they did so grudgingly. So um, when you are following a commandment of God, when He says, pray 5 times a day, and when you do it in that way, right, like lazily, then you don't really mean it, right? You don't really mean to pray to God. You don't really mean to give the charity. You are doing it for some other reason, maybe even um, that you are used to it, right? Because there are so many people that they started doing their prayers, but they are doing it because the prayer is something that they got used to. They're not really doing it because they want to have contact with God or they truly believe in it, but they're just doing it. Like most of the times, you can see um, I have seen this a lot in like some stores that they open the Quran and the Quran is going on, but it doesn't affect those people, right? The only reason why they are doing it is because it has a good sound. You see, like when they are reciting the Quran, I forgot or how you call those people, the Quran reciters. They do it. They listen to it, but they don't follow it, right? So, and why do you listen to it? Because it makes a good sound, right? We have so many people who are listening to the Quran only in that way, without even knowing what the Quran says, without even opening the Quran and reading it. The contact prayer salat before mom. Apparent worldly success 55. We do not be impressed by their money or their children. God causes these to be sources of retribution for them in this life, and when they die, their souls depart while they are disbelievers. They swear by God that they belong with you while they do not belong with you. They are divisive people. If they could find a refuge or cave or a hiding place, they would go to it rushing. Some of them criticize your distribution of the charities. If they are given therefrom, they become satisfied, but if they are not given therefrom, they become objectors. So, one of the things that I also hear a lot is, when you speak about submission, about God promising the believers to be kings and queens in this world, and God is promising that the paradise will start for a believer in this world. And people are asking, right, like, why are so many unbelievers, so many bad people having so much money and fame, and they have everything that they need? Like, they think that it doesn't make sense, but in many other verses, God explains us that He is giving this to them in this world, to show their true identity, to test them, to, um, you know, um, and those are things, ways actually, sources, says God, right? These to be sources of retribution for them in this life. And the messenger talks about this topic as well, right? And he gives examples of people who are famous, people who have a lot of money, who own cars and houses and um, a lot of things, worldly things, but those people are still not happy, because happiness doesn't have to do anything with a material world. It has all to do with your soul and how big your soul is. It has to do with your connection with God, how close you are to God. So, when you don't have that connection, you can't ever be happy, because this is the system that God has created in this world. This is His system. Your soul grows when you follow God's commandments, when you remember God, and you do whatever God says, and by doing that you grow your soul, and your soul becomes bigger and bigger and stronger, so you become more happy the more you grow your soul. And having a lot of money and and material things that is not growing your soul. So you can't be happy actually. And those people who have a lot of money and things and who are not believers, we can definitely say that they are not happy. They maybe say that they are happy or they pretend as if they are happy. But we as believers, we as submitters who know this information, right? We know this information. We know that happiness only can come with submitting to the will of God. Uh, and if you aren't, you can't be happy. So anyone who is saying that he is happy is actually lying, and we know that. Some of them criticize your distribution of the charities. If they are given therefrom, they become satisfied. But if they are not given therefrom, they become objectors, right? Yeah. So when it fits them, they accept it. But when it doesn't fit them, they object. It's a very clear way of seeing the identities of these people. They should be satisfied with what God and His messenger have given them. They should have said, God suffices us. God will provide for us. So this is what a true believer needs to say. God provide for us from his bounties, and so will his messenger. We are seeking only God. So, knowing that the best thing to do in this world is submitting to the will of God. When you know that, you seek opportunities to do that. So in a situation like that, where the messenger is giving these things out, and you should be satisfied with anything that God has given you, because if you don't accept it, you're objecting, and at that moment you are not a submitter, you're an objector. And God says what they have should said. That is, they should have said, God suffices us. God will provide for us from his bounties, and so will his messenger. We are seeking only God, to seek only God. Because that's the only way to become successful, actually, if you seek only God. Distribution system for charities. Charities shall go to the poor, the needy, the workers who collect them, the new converts, to free the slaves, to those burdened by sudden expenses in the cause of God, and to the traveling alien. Such is God's commandment. God is omniscient, most wise. So here we have the distribution system, right? That God has taught us. And he says that it needs to go to the poor, to the needy, of course, the workers who collect them, and then the new converts, to free the slaves, to those burdened by sudden expenses in the cause of God, right? It doesn't mean that, when you have money and you buy a very expensive car and then you end up having no money, you should prevent something happening like this. It needs to be in the cause of God. It can happen, right? Like you're doing something and then you're spending maybe too much and then ending up in a situation maybe where you need some money. So this charity is meant for all those that God explained here in this verse. Some of them hurt the prophet by saying, "He is all ears." Say, it is better for you that he listen to you. He believes in God and trusts the believers. He is a mercy for those among you who believe. Those who hurt God's messenger have incurred a painful retribution. Those who hurt God's messenger have incurred a painful retribution. So probably they're also mocking, right? Like, because these people, they are not really believers. And God is talking about people who are with the messenger, right? And they are behaving in a certain way, and God is sending these verses to tell them that what they are doing is wrong, uh, right? And God says that the messenger, that he believes in God and trusts the believers, right? He is a mercy for those among you who believe. Like, how is he a mercy, right? a person who is sent by God to send his messages, giving the right information to the believers, right? Teaching them and showing them how to do things correctly. Like when you give a charity, God tells us how to do that. Right? The praise that we are doing, the how we fast. Like for the last 1400 years, uh, the so-called Muslims of today, they are doing nothing, almost nothing, like what is in the Quran, right? They changed everything. The prayers, the charity, giving the charity, how to give the charity, to give the charity to whom, in which order, and how to arrange those things. Like all this information that we are receiving from God, so we can correct ourselves, and then we can do it in a good way. And when you do it correctly, like for example, praying and not mentioning anyone else besides God in your prayers, and following all these details that God has taught us through His Messenger and through the Quran, we end up doing things in the right way and in the right order, and that helps us grow our souls, and eventually we become successful because of this system that God has created for us. It says, they swear by God to you to please you when God and his messenger are more worthy of pleasing, if they are really believers. Retribution for opposing God and his messenger. Did they not know that anyone who opposes God and his messenger has incurred the fire of hell forever? This is the worst humiliation. The hypocrites worry that a surah may be revealed, exposing what is inside their hearts. Say, go ahead and mock. God will expose exactly what you are afraid of. So, like, that's what happens, right? So people are reacting in a way, and God is sending these verses to the prophet, giving the information, what is in their hearts, what their intentions are, and why those things happen. For example, in this war, when they wanted to stay behind, and God kept them behind to protect the believers in a way, right? That was God's plan. So exposing all these disbelievers and the hypocrites, and imagine, right? Like they are standing there, and then God says that the hypocrites worry that a surah may be revealed, exposing what is inside their hearts. Like it's really strange, actually, right? Like that you're a hypocrite. You say that you believe, why you don't believe. You're a bad person. You have these bad intentions, and you also worry that a surah will be revealed to the prophet, to the messenger, and in that um, surah, God will expose those people, right? Like it's actually funny in a way. Like why are you then a hypocrite, right? If you are afraid that the surah can come, right? So it's really weird. Like their minds are really messed up, and they're afraid that the surah may be revealed, exposing that is inside there. And God says, go ahead and mock. So God says, say, go ahead and mock. God will expose exactly what you are afraid of. So God is exposing them all the time. Yeah, mashallah. So I don't know exactly how many minutes, but I will finish here, God willing. If there are any questions or things that you, brothers and sisters, want to add, please go ahead.
Mashallah, thank you, brother. Good study. Um, yeah, I mean, very nice. These verses, I think, really help us, get a better insight into, the thought process that goes inside the minds of hypocrites, and it shows a major sign that can easily help us identify people who are hypocrites, and we have been reading about this. I think this surah is so detailed, and if we see like the whole discussion, uh, I mean the whole mentioning of their mindset and everything, shows one thing, to me that stands out is their laziness, their utter apathy, uh, and lack of interest in wanting to actually do the striving. They want to be backbenchers. They want to be lazy. They just want to sit back and watch other people do the work, and they also don't mind sharing in. I mean, not sharing in, but I mean like tapping into all the benefits when believers actually gain something, right? But then there are also people that hate the believers uh, on their face. They offer lip service to pacify them with lip service. They say nice words. They're good manipulators in that sense, deceivers. But they're exposed, to the believers in this way uh, by showing that they have no interest in striving in the cause of God. You know, when it comes to striving, God actually, like, just think about why, like God has to discourage someone from striving. I mean, God wants everybody to choose the right path, but these people are discouraged because they don't. That's how much they don't want to strive. And God knows what's in their hearts, and they are discouraged in this way, and given they come up with excuses. They can act dumb and stupid just so, or powerless in some way, or tied up in things just so they don't have to strive in the cause of God. And God says, the quality of the believers is, they're eager, and they just can't wait to strive in the cause of God. They're excited about it. They're looking for ways. And I mean, mashallah, this 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 is something that I've been thinking about it for a few years at least. How God uses this as a means to show what is in people's hearts. Of course, if you truly love God, you want to make God happy as much as you can, right? So you want to look for, like, if you really love someone, like, you're looking for ways how you can, put a smile on their face, for example. It's the same goes for God, and you want to do everything in the cause of God, right? And it takes a bad apple like that, to not want to, dedicate their life, to serving the Creator, and just doing show off, you know, just want to show off. You just want to show and pretend to people that you're pious, or you're so kind, you're so innocent, I mean, this is this is, and you're so sincere, I mean, this is what they do, and they put on this face of righteousness that is fake. It's like a wolf in sheep's clothing, right? And these situations that happen, just priestly, exactly, mashallah. And these situations that happen, just exposes it. Like when they talk, they use, oh, subhanallah, subhanallah, alhamdulillah, mashallah. They say things like that just to be righteous. And God says, don't take God's name in vain, right? But they do that to gain credibility and mimic the believers. But ultimately, they can't be the real thing. Like, everything that glitters is not gold, right? And ultimately, there are ways you can test if it's real gold or not. And this is one of the ways that God shows us that's very easy to distinguish between true believers and hypocrites. MashaAllah.
Yeah, it gives a very good insight, brother, as you say. And
Mm-hmm.
what you hear most of the times, like, and the messenger again speaks about this, right, openly in one of the videos, that they says like, do not judge, right? Like judging, only God
Mm-hmm.
judges. And he says that this is a trick of the devil. We can judge since we have
Mm-hmm.
this book, this Quran, where
Mm-hmm.
God, as you said, into very small details explains us with examples of how these people act, right? How they
Mm-hmm.
talk, how they do all these things that you have said. So, when seeing this should you know, it gives you also an idea of a
Hmm.
person, right?
Hmm.
Like, what should we
Yeah,
do at that point?
and
Like, should we ignore
yeah,
it?
I mean, this when the situation, shows up, like you know how to respond.
Yeah.
I mean, really, you just basically God says, we no longer you tell them we no longer trust you, you know,
Mm-hmm.
and they chose to do the sedentary. God says, okay, stay with the sedentary. You want to stay behind, stay behind.
Mm-hmm.
Like nobody wants your participation anyways. You're just gonna cause problems, and because they're not believers. Obviously, they're gonna cause disputes. They're gonna scheme. They're gonna do uh, uh, all kinds of things to cause discord among the believers. You know, so why would we want anything to do with such people in the first place?
Mm-hmm.
MashaAllah. And the funny thing is, like, these are the people who like to say with their mouths, as audacious as it sounds, like they say with their mouths, "We are believers," and,
Mm-hmm.
and you don't hear that from the believers, you know. You hear that only from hypocrites. So I'm sincere, brother. I'm so sincere. Like I'm a believer, Like,
Mm-hmm.
um,
They
yeah.
call
So,
not witness their innermost thoughts, you know.
mhm.
Like, like
Yeah.
it, basically saying the same thing you were just touching on, like about, oh, I'm so sincere, you know, and uh, yeah, basically saying that same thing.
Mhm. Yeah, God knows, and there's no reason why anyone has to proclaim. And then, God says that, they even their appearances are deceiving. They call on God, for example, to witness their innermost thoughts. Um, like so. I mean, all these subhanallah
Call
signs.
on call on God again. Can you
I
repeat
mean,
that, brother?
I'm paraphrasing.
Uh-huh.
The verse that says, appearances may be deceiving, you
Mm-hmm.
know. So hold on. Appearances may be deceiving. Yeah. So this is verse 204. It says, among the people, one may impress you with his utterances concerning this life, and may even call upon God to witness his innermost thoughts while he is a most ardent opponent. I was like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, brother, like, God knows my intentions, you know, like,
Uh, uh,
you know, like
uh,
God knows my intentions. Like, I'm so righteous, like, God knows I can't do anything wrong. Like, everything I'm doing is in the cause of God. And if I'm doing anything wrong, may God forgive me, you know, and while
mm-hmm.
they're doing wrong things, so,
Bad things, yeah.
yeah. So,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Like taking
but yeah,
insurance
but I mean,
or.
yeah, mashallah. So, I mean, the thing is, like, what we see is that we as submitters at this in this era in our time, we don't have to be. We're not gonna be in that exact situation like with these people fighting and going to war, right?
Mm-hmm.
But we are
Mm-hmm.
put in situations where we have to mobilize in the cause of God. Like this is referring to just as in previous generations, also referring to our generations, as it is talking about, like a few verses later, it's talking about the messenger of the covenant, talking about our community as well, just as it's for any other community, right? So these people were tested in the same way, those same things apply. We have to be sedentary and we can be strivers too, people among us.
Mm-hmm.
And there are people
Mm-hmm.
that are sedentary, and sedentary doesn't mean that like you don't have to join, for example, Quran studies and stuff. Like, people will join these things, like they're there with they go inside those groups, they infiltrate and sit among them, as the footnote says, right? They go, but besides that, you don't see them doing anything for submission. Like in our time, we're living in a time where, just before the victory, God says the strivers achieve the highest ranks. Like we really have opportunities. And so the believers will be in the forefront. They will be doing things, like you don't have to be really skilled, like God will show you things, you'll find things to do, pick up stuff, but then you see examples where people just don't want to do anything. They don't even want to, like, like, for example, figure of speech, pick up the sword. You don't even want to pick up the sword. Like, pick up the sword, God will teach you how to fight, but they don't even want to take any initiative, to start. That's how much they are lazy to strive in the cause of God. And that's what I see, to be honest with you. Like, when I came to submission, like, and I look, mashallah, I don't know how to express this, but like when I came to submission, like I was really like, and before meeting other people, like I was looking at, for example, the or I had ideas about how the messenger would be striving in our era, and then I look at the people here, when I look at other communities, and I just see people just living their lives like they don't. They're people. Yeah, they go to Quran studies, and you see them socialize, but and they even go to Quran. They even go to Friday prayers, But that's a social function for them. It's not because they want to strive in the cause of God. It's a social function for them. They want to do business together. They want to get married. Do things together, hang out. Go to coffee shops, whatever. You know, and have moral support and whatever. Like sisterhood, brotherhood, whatever. But it's not all about that. God has ways to distinguish people, and you will see that, if God guides someone, like he will inspire them to do things that you wouldn't think of, but God will show them ways that in which they can do stuff. And the people, and this is how much they love to strive, is we see in this verses that we read today, like, when if they don't have anything to offer, like they're saddened, you see tears in their eyes, like that's how badly these people want to strive in the cause of God. Of course, God knows everybody's hearts. There will be people that just don't have the means to do anything in any way. But God is talking about people who choose to, they make a conscious decision despite all the opportunities around them. They choose not to, strive with their money and their life. Cool. And that's why it's important that when we decide to seek God's provisions, whether it's a job or business or whatever it is, that we go with the intention that we want to strive in the cause of God, And if you want to strive in the cause of God, you want to do things in the cause of God. You want to be a contributing, member of society where you will do things to further the cause of submission to God. These people that were fighting. Why were they fighting? They were fighting to support the believers, but they were also fighting for submission to prevail, so they could practice religion freely, so they could freely build mosques and spread the message. And they were doing all these things. These are all ways and means we can strive, right? And so all of that requires you to mobilize. It requires you to do things. In our lifetime, it requires us to go to college, requires us to go to work, to do things so you can build something, some sort of income that you will have enough to spend something in the cause of God, right? Imagine if someone says, I'm fine, like, if I just get my hand to mouth, I'm fine with it. Like, I don't need to go beyond that, right? That's an example, to me, a clear indication of someone who chose to be a person who doesn't want to strive in the cause of God in any way. And then, of course, I mean, God knows that, right? I mean, if God sees in our hearts, God sees our intentions, right? And if, one can say, like, someone gets born in a real poor family, they may be homeless, whatever, but if they have the desire to strive in the cause of God, God will bring them opportunities, that they can get a living and have money. I mean, mashallah, we have seen it with our own eyes. So, God creates the means, like God will give them the means to support themselves, and he will give them the means to strive in the cause of God.
The messenger's situation is a good example, brother. Like he explains
Subhanallah,
this,
great
where
example.
someone came to him, offered him a job where he earned the double, I think. Like he earned a
Mm-hmm,
lot more,
mm-hmm,
and then he bought this place, made a mosque of it, and then he started doing all these things based on that.
mm-hmm. Yeah,
That
and
is a very good
subhanallah, I mean,
example.
you can see, like, in his time, like in the 80s, he's going to the news stations, he's going to interview on radio stations, he's writing movie scripts, all of this stuff, shows, like, someone who's actively devoting his life to striving in the cause of God, which is for all of us. Like, we should all follow that kind of an example, you know.
Yeah, as you said, like if he was alive, like how would he, do things in our time?
Hmm.
Yeah, what are the things is building an app, right?
Hmm.
Like a submission app. That's mashallah, and you
Hmm.
did that, brother. But that would definitely be something that he would do.
Hmm.
YouTube,
Websites,
YouTube videos,
books,
websites. Yeah, man. Yes,
videos,
definitely.
yeah, everything.
Conferences, maybe
Conferences.
debates. Like, I don't know about debates, brother,
Hmm.
because he went to the radio
Hmm.
station. He debated that person. You can see how he was debating, right? Like even in the
Hmm.
beginning, he was very like you could see that he was definitely winning,
Hmm.
um, right?
Okay.
So yeah, it's a very good example.
Um,
Like having these yeah, online courses, even, I think,
hmm.
yeah, a lot is possible,
Hmm.
definitely.
Yeah, I like the verse about taking the religion seriously.
Hmm.
Those who do not take the religion seriously, what does it say? Like, have been preoccupied.
Hmm.
But yeah, it shows where people's intentions and beliefs, I think, really are. Because everything they have is from God, and then they'll you know prioritize in hereafter. That's what they're going to work towards. Of
Hmm.
course, without neglecting their share in this worldly life. All these things are just means for our provisions.
Hmm.
But yeah, I mean, imagine looking for excuses not to do something or to be
Yeah.
sedentary. I mean, even like in the worldly perspective, that's a really, really bad, narcissistic, kind of apathetic mindset to have. Like, that's condemned even
Hmm.
outside of submission, and all other walks of life, so to speak. That type of mindset is very frowned upon, and to uh, harbor that and carry that in submission is just shows the lack
Hmm.
and hypocrisy,
Hmm.
despite
Yeah.
like priestly type of um, yeah. I mean, it's.
Hmm.
I mean,
Yeah, I
you
mean,
like Marshall. I just wanted to say, bro. I like the example you gave. Like, if you truly love someone and are grateful to this person, like, be it a spouse or whatever the case could be, your brother or sister or whatever, you're gonna do things to try to put a smile on their face. You're
hmm.
gonna do things to do your best. Like, you're gonna look for ways. Um,
Hmm.
so it's, yeah, same thing.
Hmm. No, so, and there's two kinds of these people, right? There's those, obviously, who don't want to even work, uh, and strive, right? And then there's also other people that are hypocrites that have a lot of money. They have like houses and cars and businesses and whatnot, right? And they still won't strive, So that's also another aspect of it. People um um just they don't uh because because they have these doubts. There's doubts overcome that they can't overcome, and if they were able to overcome them, obviously, they would want to do these things because the hereafter becomes reality for you. But the hereafter sounds like a distant fantasy for these people, so they just don't want to invest any anything into it. Otherwise, if there was the God says it was short money, it was a short journey and a quick material gain, they would rarely join you. But striving in the cause of God is just too much for them. They say, as God says, they say, let's not mobilize in this. You're like, oh, why would I want to do all these things? Like, what's in it for me? There's nothing in it for me because I don't see any real benefit. But the strivers, the true believers will know the real benefit because this is really for their eternal life. This is really the ranks that are going to be permanent. Why wouldn't you want to strive in the cause of God? You'll be cheerfully doing it, eagerly doing it, mashallah, but then also I want to emphasize on other part that we read, it's like what kind of sick mentality these people have, like poisonous minds where I mean, what kind of evil person you have to be, for example, to be with other believers who look at you as believers, not knowing you're a hypocrite, for example, and they treat you as believers and you pacify them with lip service and you're on the surface, you're telling them you're with them, but then inside you hate them so much that God says like when anything good comes your way, they hurt. When anything bad happens to you, they rejoice. You know, so that's why they're hypocrites. Like God knows, and that's why they deserve to be in that position. I mean, and this is being a hypocrite. We know is worse than being a disbeliever, being an atheist. Like you could be an idol worshiper, an atheist, a disbeliever. Maybe I mean, of course, you're still going to hell, uh, but the hypocrites will. God says, go to the lowest pit. So they have to be the worst of the worst.
It's really a disease. Because then it's like if they're really supporting the cause of God, they would never
Mm-hmm.
wish. I mean, it's like you
Mm-hmm.
said, think sick like.
Brother, what do you think
Mm-hmm.
of actively debating?
Hmm?
Actively debating, like, um,
Who do I think of actively debating? What do you mean?
like, for example, like, for example, you can go to a mosque,
Mm-hmm.
and then
Don't go to a mosque.
actively, yeah, yeah, and then actively talk to the people who come there, and then,
You can go
tell
to
the,
conferences, for example.
yeah, but
That's what the
they,
messenger of the covenant used to. Uh,
oh, okay, in
uh,
that way, like
yeah, they would
conferences,
talk about like conferences. You can go debate with these people, for example, right?
but a conference that they hold.
Yeah, so you could present the truth.
Yeah, like he
Oh,
was just listening to something
you know
about
what I thought? Oh, yeah, sorry, brother, go ahead.
Chicago. He
Mm-hmm.
had gone to like when he's so funny because the Arabs were getting very worried about the miracle and stuff, the cat's out of the bag, and then they had to throw this conference, and they didn't even mention God or say Allah or mention any God anywhere. They just mentioned Hadith and Muhammad, but it was the conference for the finality of prophethood and Hadith or something like that. And it was in Chicago, and then he went there,
Mm.
19 questions for them, You know, so I mean, you know, even debate
So
like is
yeah.
a way you can just ask them questions and make them think. Like that's a way to combat.
So
People.
yeah. So I want to yeah, brother. So I want to ask something. So there is this community here where I live. These are the Jehovah's Witnesses, and you know, every 2 months or something like that, this guy comes to my place and rings, and then you know we had a few discussions with each other about religion and you know everything, and he becomes very upset when you come up with the truth about you know his thing that they believe in. And there was this one thing, he invited me to their place. It was on a Saturday morning, if I'm not mistaken. And actually, I doubted because I didn't know if I should go there, you know. And I was thinking, like, okay, if I go there, maybe I can give them some information, like, okay, you invited me here, but this is what I believe in, and I have these questions, etc. But
Yeah, but then they're going to church, right?
it is their place. Yeah, I think so. It's
Yeah,
a
and
place
it's
that
like,
is.
and that's like also like, you know, they
Bro-
worship there, right?
Yeah,
I
brother. So
mean,
yeah, let me. I
so
want
the
to
thing is
ask you,
like, yeah,
brother,
yeah.
brother.
So I mean, like,
Wait,
go
wait,
ahead.
wait, brother. I'll
Yeah, yeah,
ask
go
you,
ahead.
and then you can give maybe a full
Uh-huh.
answer to me, please, because I
Sure,
wanted
sure.
to ask you something. Yeah. So,
Uh-huh.
then what I was thinking was, okay, if I intend to that to their to the invitation, am
Mm-hmm.
I in a way helping them instead of, you know, because then they have someone from outside coming to their place, and I didn't even know if I could say something. Maybe I just go there and then sit, and I don't know what they're gonna do, right? So then I was
Yeah, I
thinking,
mean,
okay, if I
you're
go
going
there, I'm
there.
gonna help them out. You see what I mean?
Well, no. Oh, yeah, I mean, I see your point, and I see your dilemma. The thing is, like, why are you going there, right? You're not going there to join them, or you're not going there to like add value to them, like as a special guest to approve what they're doing. You're going there to
Hmm.
debate with them, you know, and that's the right intention that you have.
But I don't know
So
if I can debate them. That I don't
no,
know yet.
you can't. Why can't you debate with them? Like you can
No,
debate
no,
with
I don't.
anybody as long
Yeah.
who are not submitters, you know. It, nothing stopping us from
No, no,
debating.
I don't
If they
know
want
if.
it, if they are open-minded to have a debate, like if someone wants to have a debate, if they don't want to have a debate, then that's different, right?
Okay, then
But
I
the
need
thing
to
is
go
that
first.
you can still go there. For
Yeah,
example, if there are people
to
coming,
check out.
you know, no, check out, or and also
Right.
you can like say distribute Qurans, for example, you know, invite people to give them the truth, you know, if they're presenting this idea that of three gods or whatever. I mean, you can tell them, you know, no, God
Mm-hmm.
says worship God alone. This is falsehood. You know, here if you wanna, if you're interested to hear the truth, you know, here's the final testament that has mathematical proof, and you can invite them
Mm-hmm.
to submission, you know,
But so I need
and say you're
to,
willing to
like,
debate
if
with
there's
them.
an opportunity, then I just need to go check and see whatever I can
Hmm.
do, right? And then
Yeah,
depending on the situation, I need to act in that certain way. Oh wait.
yeah.
Yeah.
I think, I think you know, there's a lot of Turkish people that are, you know, being misled right now. You know, the contents I'm talking about. You know,
Yeah, brother, I went
so
there as
yeah,
well.
yeah.
Like I did that before a lot. I went to the mosques. You have a lot of mosques
No,
here,
no, I'm not
but
talking about mosques. Yeah,
these
I'm
are
not
not
talking
like
about
only
mosques.
mosques, but these are not only like mosques, brother. You have also places where most of the times they go there and they sit there and you have these talks and you can drink tea. Like it's not only a place where you can go inside with your shoes and then sit and watch TV. Like we have these areas.
No, I know there are centers, Islamic centers. Yeah,
Yes, yes, yes.
yeah, but
But
essentially they are mosques. They
but
call them
I
Islamic
like
centers.
by I ended like for a long time now. I don't go there anymore. Like
Hmm.
because I did it a long time and I had these discussions, like so many discussions. And these are like a lot of people are people who I know from my childhood. And then, you know, we had these, and then eventually they had this. They don't want to discuss anymore. You know, after some time, after you make your point and they make their point, etc. So then
Mhm.
it's strange. Like when I go there, what should I do? You know, like I had one time a discussion with the imam there, because the younger kids, when I told them about submission and about this information, they asked the imam to have a debate with me. So then I went to there and then I debated him, and then I left. But so my question is, should I keep going there, or like, and then talk to them again, or what do you think?
Mhm. That was good. Yeah, no, I think you've already debated with them, so uh, I mean, it's up. I mean, I don't know really, but you can debate with them if you want to.
You could always leave. Maybe for the people who want. I think it's a way to target
Mhm.
people in person. Is like make a brochure
Mhm.
for flyer, because the messenger
Mhm.
did these, and then
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
leave them.
Make sure you debate. Yeah. Make sure when you debate with these people. Sorry, brother John. I didn't mean to cut you off.
It's okay.
I just wanted to say that when you debate with these people, make sure if you really want to get the most out of those debates, like you want to make sure that those debates are public, so other people have a chance to hear those debates. Make sure it's like a event that
It's not one
will
one person, like
help
it's
you to be
always.
heard. No,
Oh, you mean
you just
online?
basically yeah, online or in a big group, like so other people can hear you, right? That's the whole idea.
Yeah,
Like the
it is a
reason why the
big group.
messenger is going to, yeah, yeah, the whole idea, the reason messenger is going to the conference is there's a group
A
of
lot of
people that are there
people.
that are
Mm.
listening. So
Mhm.
you wanna break
Okay,
the
so
message
basically
to
we
them.
need to use every opportunity that we have. Like even me calling, like brother, these okay, so there are these not conferences, but they have these they call it sometimes lessons. They call it, how do you say it, man?
Studies,
Yes,
teach.
similar like studies. I went there one
Mhm.
time because my brother invited me, and then we had there like 20 people, and then there was this one guy who was so-called an imam, and he was talking, and like I started having this discussion and debate with him, and they have this type of things all the time. So I can, for example, make a call and then tell them, listen, I'm gonna come, and I want to also debate. Like, is this something that, because I can do that. And eventually I ended up not doing it because I did it so much, and then um the thing changes a little bit after them hearing you say things. They already know that I'm going to talk about these things, and they don't want you to come actually after some time. uh, because you oppose all those lies. But Suleiman, can you hear me? Oh. Oh, yes. Can you hear me now? Suleiman?
Sorry, I got disconnected. Yeah.
Yes.
Mhm.
Yeah. So, for example, should I still go to those studies and then, start a debate?
Up to you, bro. I mean, there's nothing
Yeah,
wrong
I
with
can
it.
do it, but sometimes, like I don't remember if we did um, because we spoke about it. Like you also said, when you are in a situation or in a place that you don't actively go and tell people about submission, but you wait. Like if there's a situation where you
What I
can
was
start a
saying, yeah, yeah,
conversation.
I was saying, like, for example, like I talk about submission normally to people who are interested, and
Hmm.
I give them the message. But that's just, I was just stating my own, like, personal way of whatever I do, like that's just me. But I mean, I was talking about, like, say you're at work and stuff, like, I'm not gonna bring up the subject of submission to
Okay.
someone who's just, we're having
Y-
strictly work discussion and they have no interest in
mhm,
God
mhm,
in any way. Maybe the
mhm,
discussion will
mhm,
never
mhm.
come up. But let's say
Okay.
somebody who's religious and they will be bringing up things from God or saying stuff like that will definitely
Okay, for example,
participate in
brother.
the discussion. And, yeah.
Yeah, mashallah. So, for example, brother, like I can send a message to this group and I can tell this to them. I want to talk with you guys about submission, this topic. I want to present some things to you. And then please let's join, at a place somewhere. So, that type of
Hmm.
things.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, you could do that, but do it in like a public setting,
Yeah,
where it's,
public.
and
Yeah.
especially with these, these types of people, like, just do it openly, like,
Hmm.
not where someone can just, like, for example, murder you or something. I mean, of
Oh,
course,
okay.
God controls everything, but like, you know, um, you can't
Yeah, I
expect,
understand what you mean. I
yeah, yeah.
understand what you mean, but
So, but
okay.
the thing is, I was gonna say I mean, nowadays people are doing everything happens online, you know? Like people, you can have debates with people online, like there's live debates happening every day, but then of course you have people that are more, have more viewers, for example, those are the kind of settings where, you can challenge people to have a debate, for example. That's another way of doing it. And then there's bigger conferences, like for example, now there are people that are being promoted, that are given the satanic, view about submission, and they're packaging it as submission and spreading it like, this like a disease. I call it, you know. So I
Hmm.
think that particular conference, the one I'm talking about, like I think it's a good opportunity, and they're just, I don't know how people can buy stuff like that, but I think that would be a uh, good opportunity for you to, you know, invite these
Hmm.
people to the truth and expose the falsehood that is being
Hmm.
promoted. So,
Hmm.
I mean, I see a lot of potential believers, hopefully, waking up and coming out of that crowd. And there might be
Hmm.
also, like you said, there might be Quranists, people that are listening to Adib and stuff, like you could debate with them,
Hmm.
also as well, and
But
yeah.
okay, so I should then actively ask to debate with them online?
What do you mean actively ask?
Like for example, someone who is like, for example, following Edip and then
Yeah, you
um
could talk to them. You could find ways to debate with them publicly. Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, and like conferences, especially
Hmm.
is a big one, right? I mean, people,
Hmm.
you see hundreds of people together in one place, and you are given an opportunity to speak and present your point of view without being cut out, for example. I think that's also important, right? Like, for example, when the messenger had a debate, it was in a controlled environment somewhat. But like,
Uh-huh.
for example, you can't have the same debate now on, for example, like with on someone else's channel on TikTok, but you can have a debate with someone on your own channel where you can control, because otherwise,
Hmm.
people keep cutting you out and muting you and
Hmm.
kicking you out and stuff.
Hmm.
But that's not a way to have a big impact in the sense, unless you have like a lot of people following
Hmm.
you. But mashallah, I mean, there are, like for example, people can build a following and have viewers. Like if you have like paid promotions and things like that on social media, that's also a way to get audience and promote your content. I mean, we
Hmm.
don't even, I mean, there's many ways to strive, mashallah. I mean,
Mashallah.
it's
Yeah, I was also
it's not just
invited.
debate. Yeah.
I was also invited to a podcast, brother. This
Mm-hmm.
is a Jewish family. They
Mm-hmm.
are not fully Orthodox, but like they do the Shabbat and they pray, and they have these things,
Mm-hmm.
and they have their own podcast. And this is also someone whom I work with a lot. And
Mm-hmm.
then, of course, I told him about submission and the whole thing. So he found that very interesting, and he asked me if I could come to the podcast.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, so I will be intending that too, inshallah.
Yeah,
Um,
that's good, mashallah.
okay, so that type of things could be, yeah, it makes sense.
Mhm.
But with the Turkish community here, like after so many years talking and discussing this, having all these discussions, even with like a lot of family members, when
Mhm.
you discuss with them every time, like even today, like when I go to my brother's house, after 5 or 10 minutes, the discussion is again about Dr. Rashad and submission and religion, and it's every time the same thing. So then,
With your family?
sorry,
With your family?
yeah, with my brother, for example, I went to his house again, and then
Mm-hmm.
it's always the same discussion.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Like it's in a way funny
Mashallah. Uh-huh.
because they just keep uh, not believing in it after showing so many.
Uh-huh.
But
Oh, I
like,
need to do my sunset prayer quickly. I'll be right back.
okay,
Problem. Sorry.
okay, brother. Yeah, so I go to my brothers, when they invite us for dinner, for example, we go there and then we start, talking about things, etc. For example, the last thing that we spoke about was actually Apophis, apophosing the earth. Of course, they don't believe in that. And then I am presenting all these evidences, and it's still, of course, not convincing them, right? Because for someone to believe in that, they need to believe in the miracle of 19. They need to see all the all the evidences based on number 19, also with Apophis and the things that Messenger has written, and in the submitter's perspective, and also what he has said about it. Um, but after some point, it's like the question is like, is there any point of repeating all these things again and again for someone who is eventually not gonna believe?
Mashallah. Yeah, I think like understanding the miracle of 19 uh, is gonna help people see more. But I have discussed the prophets with a few people, and then just some of the mathematical things, but also just some of the non-mathematical signs behind it did kind of cause some people to take interest. But I use that like as a kind of a pretext, and to introduce the message, because like if they start to believe about that, maybe then they'll want to take a look or be more interested in taking a look at the mathematical miracle. Um, come from different, try to come from different angles and stuff. Because if you tell somebody about an asteroid hitting the Earth, they, most people aren't gonna just like kind of walk away. They're gonna take some type of interest, like, oh, I heard this. But if you tell people like, oh, there's this mathematical code,
They
that
already know that.
yeah, yeah,
And the Apophis is it's called, what is it called? A conversation opener. Is that the right?
Yeah,
yeah,
Um,
conversation starter.
yeah, conversation starter. Yeah. So because I had the same thing when we went to
Mm-hmm.
Turkey. So like they already knew about the 19 because we had all these discussions. But this last time it was about Apophis, and then one of them was very scared actually. She was really like, oh, okay, what if it really happens?
Mm-hmm.
But that was again a conversation starter, and from there you take it to other points, telling them, listen, like this is going to happen, if you believe or not, it's gonna happen. So yeah, that
Mm-hmm.
that that, that was the reason, like.
Mm-hmm.
sure.
Mashallah. So what were you saying about your brothers?
uh what
Sorry,
was
I had
it?
to do my salat. It was getting late.
Oh, we were at my brother's, and then like the thing is, um when you talk about the same topic all the time, and you like, I see my in like, there is this point, brother, where I am, while I'm talking, I'm also thinking like, okay, this is maybe the 50th time that I have given this example and this proof and evidence, and like, you know, like then I'm thinking, okay, what is the purpose of saying it again, or like talking about this topic again? You understand what I mean? Like for people whom you already have spoken with, and new people who don't know it at all. Like for example, we
Sorry,
had.
my Wi-Fi
Oh, is it something with your Wi-Fi?
disconnected. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, we had, for example, this one opportunity where we went to an office area where we do the. Remember, I told you where we do the Friday prayers, and
Right.
then yeah, and then this guy came. He was, I think, from Syria, but this guy came. He brought his car to the garage. There was a garage nearby, and then we did our ablution, and we were starting to do our prayer. And we wanted to do prayer, right? And then he came, and then we told him, we said, listen, brother, you can pray with us, but like we need to tell you about it was really amazing. But and then we started telling him, giving him this information, and he accepted it. Like it was very strange. And then we told him, we said, listen, we can't say any other name than, you know, like while we do the prayer. This is the way how we're gonna do the prayer. This is the way how you need to do the ablution. We told him this, right? And we showed him. And this guy, he knew the Quran. Like when we were saying things about the Quran, he read it in Arabic, like everything what we said, and then he started reading it in Arabic. So, but he accepted everything, and then he went and he did his ablution like in the Quran. He prayed next to us. Like first time that we saw this guy, it was really amazing. But you know, seeing someone and then immediately accepting these things compared to all the other ones, like after 50 times still not. Yeah, it's
So you
strange.
didn't keep in touch with this person?
No, we have his number. So, and we told him that that he can come to the place while we are doing the prayers.
Right.
But it was something
So you were
we
saying
didn't
about
know.
your brother. What were your brother? I didn't get. You said when you talk about the same subject every time, what happened? Like,
Yeah, so we like every time when we go there, then
uh-huh,
like there are two things, brother. One is, since we always talk about these topics,
uh-huh,
it's like when the topic, when we start talking about it again, then it's like you're repeating, you know, like
uh-huh,
the 50th time, and everyone knows this,
uh-huh,
and I'm repeating, they're repeating. And
uh-huh,
then so I come into a situation where I'm thinking, okay, but this is now maybe the 50th time that I said this and gave this example and
uh-huh,
tried to explain, and
uh-huh,
still they don't get it. And
uh-huh.
then I'm thinking, what should I do? Like, okay, then sometimes I just don't talk anymore. I say, okay, if you believe in that, yeah, then it's like, you
No, I
see?
mean, like that, to me, that does kind of sound like, like these, you're just barking at the wrong tree, like,
Mhm.
and if you're saying given them the message like 50 times, and they're still debating with you and not accepting it.
Lost connection.
Yeah, I think, Brother Suleiman, we lost connection. I'm not.
Like, if you're hopeless about these people, like you've talked to them so much, they should come a point, at least if it's not, I don't know your situation and what's coming out of those discussions, but like if you've debated with them long enough and you don't see any progress, I mean, that means like you're in the wrong group.
They're hopeless. You mean when you see that they're hopeless?
Yeah, it sounds like to me
Hmm.
they're hopelessly stuck in disbelief, and they're even debating with you and trying to convince you to get out of it. They want you to disbelieve. So I wouldn't join those people. I would run away from them. Like God says, run for your life.
Yeah.
After
Mashallah,
debating with them like so many times.
yeah, mashallah, bro. Yeah, I'm agree with Brother Salaman. I also do the same way. Because when you
Mm-hmm.
give them couple of times, so when you have sense, So further reminder will give them no benefit, So you know that. So and you did your job, because if we do again and again 100 times, so we'll be like forcing them. We can give them, and couple of times, and when you sense them, so it's not giving you, is they are not attracting this message, and they don't want to listen anymore. So then I stop. When I talk to the other
Mm-hmm.
people, my family members or the friends, or I give them couple of times, and I say, oh, people used to come to talk to me before, and when I give them couple of times, they don't come anymore to me even. So I said, okay, that's enough. I am not calling them. Why not coming? Why come? I did my job. I cannot.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to force them and again to convince them. So I think so, brother. This is my understanding. When you have sense that, oh, these people don't want to listen anymore, you already give them enough. So then my thing is
Mm-hmm.
okay. That's my understanding. Yeah.
Yeah, it sounds like those people are blocked, and it
Mhm.
sounds like they're trying to invite you to go to hell with them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They want to convince you, brother. Now it's
Yeah.
their religion. No?
Yeah,
Yeah.
they want to debate. It's not that they don't want to debate, but then
Yeah,
they
but
keep
you
on
debate.
putting their,
Yeah.
yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, the debate is not going anywhere
Yeah.
eventually, right? Like, so, I mean, how long are you gonna do that, right? Like, they say the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different outcome. That
Yeah,
sounds like
yeah.
insanity.
Yeah, eventually you end up expecting nothing anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah,
They
like
Yeah,
want to
no, I
religions.
mean,
to
Yeah.
debate you because they want to prove you are wrong. That's the reason. Because they
yeah,
are
and
not.
they want you to join them, yeah.
Yeah.
God says, they want you to disbelieve.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because our things is very logical. It's Quranic. It's mathematical. So
Mhm.
if the sincere person, they can accept it automatically easily. So if they
Mm-hmm.
are not sincere, even if you give them 100 times, it will be useless. That's my understanding. So I give enough time, but if I see they are not interested anymore, and I don't bother them anymore.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, the thing is that, God wants to, uh, uh, God wants us to prove that, we love God the most, right? And that's why we're tested with these situations where, you have to choose between God and such people, right? I mean, the idea about talking to people, only works for people that you have some hope for them. And if you don't have hope for them, then what is the point of you talking to them, right? You just want to, because, it's like when you talk to these people, I was thinking about this today, like in my head the whole time, like I had this idea, like imagine like watching like a movie, animated Disney movie or something, where you have, let's say, a dog, and he's talking, right? I mean, of course, all these animals have communities. They talk to each other and communicate, right? And they're talking. Have you ever watched those movies where these animals are trying to communicate with humans, but all the humans hear is the barking, you know?
Mhm.
So, we just think, oh, well, like you're talking, you're trying to say, hey, like there's a miracle and
That's
this and this.
what I'm talking
I know a few talking to them, talking to animals. Mm.
Yeah. So I mean, you don't want to be in that position,
Mhm. Yeah,
where they
brother.
don't hear you,
It's also very
you.
tiring. It's really tiring
Mhm.
at the moment. Then I'm thinking, okay, should I start again and tell
No, it's
again? But
unhealthy. It's super dangerous. If
mm,
you ask me, I would be afraid to join these types of people.
about.
Honestly, like
The-
I don't care about at that point. Like I don't care about saving the world. I care about saving my soul, right? Because there's people, that go, no, there's people that are coming there and I can save them. No, you save yourself first. Follow God's law. God will protect you if you follow God's law. And your first duty is to save your own soul, to worry about your own neck, right? And so if you insist on going into these people and socializing with them, they'll rub off on you.
Yeah, it
As simple
reminds
as
me of
that,
this
right?
story. I don't know if I should share it, but it's the same. It's just someone I worked with. His brother was recovering, from a really bad intoxicant drug addiction, and he went into Christianity and was this gung ho like Jesus hardcore idol worshiper, and was he's pretty arrogant about it, like the type of people you'd see on YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
He's not like
Mm-hmm.
you're humble, like he's very kind of boastful and like trying to convince people, and then he went into to Satan's den. The guy, this he was some big stock trader or whatever who was a pretty avid drug user, and he went to his house, and this was his longtime friend that maybe have gotten started or something, but he thought he was going to convince this guy, who's actively, doing
Mm-hmm.
the substance in his house, and he's
Mm-hmm.
a lot of money, and he went in there thinking, oh, I'm going to convince this guy, like,
Yeah, it backfired.
yes, it backfired, and the guy told him, the stock trader or whatever, said, basically kind of called him out on it. It was like, I bet you can't do this. And then, like, he's like, you can't resist it. Just try it one time. And the guy, he's
Oh
sitting there
my God.
talking about Jesus and stuff. And then it ends up leaving the place,
Mm-hmm.
like, you
Mm-hmm.
haven't done the
Yeah.
drug. And then he
Mm-hmm.
still, this was years ago. And my coworker, this was his brother, my coworker was telling me about, and he's still out there like messing up, and it's just
Mm-hmm.
kind of one of those stories like you went in there thinking, but yeah, it just kind of reminded me.
Yeah.
I'm not saying
Yeah.
it's happened, but it's a good lesson for us, I think, to
Mm-hmm.
to think about
Yeah.
these.
Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, like
God says they want you to disbelieve so you become equal. Here you are loving them, God says, while they do not love you.
mhm.
Right, brother? Right, brother Jeffrey?
Yeah, brother, I'm listening.
It's one-sided love,
Yeah, I know. I know. I don't know if I love them, but
No, you love them. That's why you go and see them, right?
yeah, of course. Like I want
Yeah.
them to, accept it, of course. Like to believe in it and then change and then leave all this
Mm-hmm.
stupidity, and then become
Mm-hmm.
submitters, of course.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, if you think about it more, it'll make sense to you, like you shouldn't have any feelings towards such people at this point. If you really, really reflect
Mhm.
on it, like deeply, like because in reality, these people are, God says, worse than animals, and God says, how
Mhm.
could you love them, you know?
You really think
I
about
mean, if you love God the most, and and these people are really just enemies. God said a disbeliever is an enemy of his Lord.
Mhm.
I mean,
You can be friends
that
with
should,
enemies of God.
yeah.
I mean, look at it this way too, if it helps. I recently uh kind of like realize this, but I mean, maybe y'all have before, but I guess like I reflected on it more. But these people, like, if you think about it, they literally want you to come to hell with them. Like, I mean, imagine if somebody in this world wants you to break, let's say, the law then do something so bad, and then you end up getting locked up in prison with them, and they're in there, and they're your cellmate, and they're laughing or something. You know what I mean? Like
Mm-hmm.
you would like that person is so evil. Like how could they be like that? I mean, these people are like that, but even worse. You know, they want you to I mean, you know, so uh I guess reframing it, or if it makes it easier, framing it like this, like these disbelievers who want you to basically suffer with them forever. I mean, these are like your most ardent enemies.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Satan's our most ardent enemy, but these people you should like kind of are very
Mm-hmm.
despised.
Yeah.
You know,
Mm-hmm.
they're
Yeah, I
not your.
mean, imagine, you know, yeah, imagine, like if someone was the enemy of your father and they said bad things about your father, right? And then would you go befriend this person if you really love your father? Like you wouldn't, you know? Like
Mhm.
he hates your father. He is an enemy. You think twice before you see them, you know, and especially knowing God, you know, he's watching us. Um, I definitely would run as far as I can from such people, you know, really, because there's nothing. It's not worth it. You know
Yeah,
that that
until you are
it's
convinced.
not worth it at all. Like I care more about my soul than I care about my social circle. Really, they can go to hell for all I care, literally.
Noah prayed to God, right, and asked for the people to be punished, right? Noah,
Yes.
Prophet
Yeah,
Noah.
because he
Yeah,
said I invited
eventually.
them publicly, privately. When I
Yeah,
invited them, they put fingers in their ears, you know, like and
yeah.
covered themselves, you know, with clothes. And um so
Like asking for
mm,
them to be punished.
mhm.
Yeah, so he came.
Invited eventually, you know.
Yeah, inhalation.
Yeah.
Yeah, inhalation. So like he is
Hmm.
doing his job, and then
Yeah,
and
send them
and
to the Middle East, you know, on April 13th, invite them all to the Middle East in 2029 for for all expenses paid vacation.
yeah.
In Burj Khalifa or something, you know.
Uh, uh, yeah.
God willing, yeah. I think I might be traveling to Turkey.
When?
Inshallah, we can talk about it offline
Oh, okay.
soon, God
Sure.
willing. Yeah.
Sure.
All right. So, any other comments or questions from anyone?
I have to say about something about the verse 493. So people, sometimes are always saying, "Oh, who are you to judge the people?" God only the judge. But in my understanding 943, so God is asking Muhammad, why you just give them permission to stay behind? you know so tell them to go and fight for the cause of God, and who will go
Mm-hmm.
behind, then you can recognize them, who is the liar, who is the truth one.
Mm-hmm.
Why you are so kind? You just tell them, go and
Mm-hmm.
fight for the cause of God, so you can recognize the
Mm-hmm.
people, you can judge the people. So so
Mm-hmm.
there is so many ways God is telling us. We can know the
Mm-hmm.
true believer. We can, there's some
Mm-hmm.
situation, and we can come to know, oh, this is the true believer, and this is the
Mm-hmm.
or the fake believers. So many things. So 943. That's
Mm-hmm.
only I wanted to say.
Yeah, mashallah. Yeah, it's a good point, you know.
Mm.
Like he's telling them, yeah, it's okay, you know, if you have work,
If you want to stay.
like you don't have to fight.
So kind, yeah.
Mm. Or people making excuses about their family in that case, you know, like they were making serious excuses. But see, I mean, subhanAllah, like what an opportunity that would have been for these people. Imagine to be historically present, you know, at the time of Muhammad, and be among those people, group of people who fought courageously, and the angels helped them, you know, and gave them victory, and these people deprive themselves. Like, how stupid is that, right? And set the worst example and just end up incurring misery for eternity. I mean, that's something that, of course, they'll have to live with for eternity. That regret and remorse that always will haunt them.
Okay. It is. I think it has to be because they don't actually believe, right? Like they don't believe
Mm,
after, so they don't.
mm.
Or I
I
guess they're
think it's just nonsense.
right. They're gonna prioritize, let's say, their homes, like
Mm,
example, like they're
mm,
vulnerable. But
yeah,
if they did believe in the
yeah.
hereafter, they're gonna realize like
Mm,
this is gonna go away. Like it's not a big deal. And then
mm,
God is the one who gave us our homes in the first place,
mm,
gave us our wealth, so it behooves us. I like
mm.
the behoove word. I picked it up from
Yeah, and
like to
mm,
spend in the cause of God. You know?
mm. And you don't like the word behoove? Why?
No. I said I like that word behoove. I picked it
Oh, oh, okay,
up. Like, because when
okay.
it behooves you to find out, you know, like
Mm,
about like
mm,
you want to be purified and stuff. He said for your own good.
mm,
Behoove, and I was like,
mm.
word. I started using it like you might have heard me like, oh,
Mm.
but
Yeah, you know, which makes you want to think like, why do they even pretend to be submitters in the first place? Like, if
right,
they don't believe in it, have to be, but they do it because out of some convenience, you know, out of some reason that is not about sincerity, you know. Maybe it's about rebellion, like, you know, like your family is your family is let's say Christian, and you hate your family, so now, no, I'm going to follow Islam, you know, like I want to be a rebel. So many people do that, you know.
yeah. Yeah, but you know the thing is, those people that even that do that, they end up disbelieving at some point.
Mm-hmm.
Out,
Yeah,
like never there in the first place,
yeah,
or
yeah, like, you know, some people go, they join a band, or, you
right?
know, a goth club or whatever.
Yeah,
People
yeah.
have,
I've seen that. Like even within
you know.
Christianity, I've seen
Mm-hmm.
like people that uh you know get cleaned up from this walk of life, and then they're high and mighty even for 3, 4, 5 years. And
Mm-hmm.
then, you know, the idle words, you know, it's all hypocrisy on the surface, you know,
Mm-hmm.
like after, like,
Mm-hmm.
setback, you know, I've seen this, like, with a guy I used to work with, actually work for. I mean, the, uh, I've told you kind of extensively about
Mm-hmm.
back in
The
2021.
guy with the stroke?
No, not him, though. That's with my current work, but no, the guy with the carpentry, you know,
Oh, yeah, 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 yeah.
and, you know, he would mock sometimes, but he you know, like about with the you know, and I even in the Old Testament, you know. But I said, no, you
Mm-hmm.
can like mock and clown, whatever. I said, just don't. I said, I can handle it. I said, but what you're doing is you're
Mm-hmm.
insulting your creator. I said, so that bothers me. I said, what you're doing
Mm-hmm.
personally to me doesn't care. But anyway, but you know, one setback, like, you know, a person goes through a hard time, you know, like he had some calamity come and he completely, you know, turns into like a disbeliever. And then even the idol worship, the Christian stuff on the surface wasn't there. You know, it also, I think it proves, and I've maybe talked to him a little bit after, but I says like, look what you have. I mean, what you're following, if it had any substance, you know, why, uh, why are you crumbling or giving in? You know, if you actually
Mm-hmm.
believed. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
but yeah. I mean, to your point, you know, yeah, for whatever reason, these people want to rebel or believe under different for different reasons and stuff. But But you know, a common thing I think you see too, like I've seen, is they don't believe in accountability. You know, they don't actually look, you know, look at, you know, that I think that's why their ears like secretly itch to follow like intercession. You know, because they don't want to have to, like, okay, work hard, I have to strive, I have to, you know, do these things and stuff, and then thank God for the truth of the message now that I know, you know, but they don't want that. I think they just want the easy way out. And I mean, really, this has to be like for all Christians, or even Muslims, you know, or whoever that prefers intercession of some way or some type of idol worship. You know, it's like they come down here to be tested, and then they disregard their covenant. And I guess maybe they thought the test would be easy, right? Because they just would be like, "Oh no, I believe, you know, I believe in Jesus or Muhammad. Jesus is gonna save me. Look, the test is so easy. I'm good." Like no, but
So how was the Friday prayer, John?
it was good. It was good. Yeah, it was nice. I stayed after we read a few pages from the Quran. I think Surah 19. And then someone had asked the question, I think it was I forget, Kimran or but about Surah 19, you know, why is 19, why is it, you know, the 19th surah is discussing these things. I think I answered to the best of my knowledge, but I said the content in Surah 19 is because of the you know, the amount of miracles in it. You know, like KHYAS, it was given five prefix initials, and also, you know, they have some very miraculous miracles that, you know, like a baby speaking from the crib and so forth. But
yeah, Masha, I think they don't really know that you're a submitter. You know, they think it's just my guess. Like they think you're just my friend, and I gave you the message, and
yeah, because I think that maybe one of them or two of them seemed kind of surprised when I answered that. They're like, "Oh, today." And I was just like, and then I was actually said that in the appendix. Like I didn't know, but it said the same thing. But I remember, you know, the messenger talking about, and also why these things were discussed in Surah 19. That was a question from Kimran, I think. I hope I'm saying it correctly.
Kamran,
yeah. The son. I think he's the son, right? Or is
you mean Dylan?
No, not Dylan.
Oh, you mean Ali?
Yeah, the one with the family we met in Lake Tahoe.
Oh, you're talking about the person who joined our study, right?
Yeah.
Jamil.
Jamil, yeah. Jamil had asked the question, yeah. Why are these things about Surah 19 and miracles and stuff? But it was a good, you know, he was just wondering, you know, why.
Yeah, Kamran, I think
Is the father,
yeah. The father.
Yeah, it was Jamil. Yeah.
Kamran is the father.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember Jamil. He did used to. He was coming.
Join our studies.
Yeah.
Yeah. So no, Brother Jafar, this happened. You know, when we had that issue. With,
Yeah, but I lost connection, so I tried to. Are you?
Yeah,
Yeah.
we were just talking about the Friday prayer. I was asking
Are we offline?
Brother John.
No, we're still.
No, we're
Oh,
still
okay.
streaming. We're still
Okay.
streaming.
Okay. Okay.
But
Okay.
I guess we could talk about it offline. Probably.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. So, are there any other comments or questions from anyone? All right, mashallah. So thank you all for joining us. Thank you, Brother Jaffer, for leading the study, and Brother John for streaming. God willing, our next English Quran study would be on Tuesday at 2 p.m. Pacific time. And God bless you all. Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum.
And